I'm going to come back in another 1,000 years. So I know I'm here. And as an African being, you will never die. Not only will you never die, but you've been not only here a couple of times, but you've touched other galaxies a couple of times also. And as African people, when we were aware of ourselves and what we were able to do through our melanic state, we knew what galaxies we could tap into. It is my belief, and I'm going to end up with this as we go through this presentation, I believe that there were Africans who dared to go where no others went before. I believe Africans left this planet in ships and have been going through all the galaxies, and I'm going to explain that to you when we break down types of civilizations and how you draw your energy source and how we as an African people, like the brother said, we can get all this information we want to, get all culturally beside ourselves. But if we don't have the power to do something economically, and after you get the economics together, because remember, we had the culture and we had the economics. We got to get the military piece together. You see, because you may have all the money you want, all the culture you want, but if they got the big guns, you know, it's like when you on that boat, you know. And that man on the end is very haughty and proud. He says, I got the lifeboat. But that old dingy man on the end says, I got the gun, give up that boat. You see, it don't make a difference what you have. If someone can take it from you, then you might as well not have it. So as a nation, we have to start thinking of very serious things, things that make people very nervous. But we have to do it in a way that I'm not going to whisper it anymore. I really don't think there's a need to whisper. And I think that when we whisper, we're telling our children that either we're scared to speak out. Now, I understand there are times we have to speak to our family members alone. I have no problem with that. But I think we're whispering too much. And I think we're giving the children an impression that we're scared. And you know, we were the warriors of the world at one time, until the gun came along. You know, the gun is a coward's instrument, by the way, even though we invented that too. Because the gun says that I can't tangle with you human to human because you'll hurt me. So I need to be able to stand back from you and fire something at you to knock you down before you can get to me, because I'm afraid for my life in your presence. So that then when you take this gun, and then you multiply it so that you shoot more than one bullet, that tells me that not only am I afraid of you shooting once, I'm afraid I'm not going to kill you, I want to get you a couple times. So then comes the machine gun. Then comes the formation of being able to stand on one continent and press a button to send a missile over to another continent. Not only do I not want to have to see you when I kill you, I don't want to be on the same continent when I kill you. So all of this war power, all of these guns are their own demise. Because what African folk are going to do is going to find a new way to create war power using what is out here now. But if we don't get into the state of nation building, then we're going to miss the whole point. So we've got to understand who we are and what we have done in situations that we have been. And Moors were pretty much in the same situation except for a few differences that we are in today. There was a group of African folk in this area known as the Garamantes. The Garamantes were the Africans from whence Hannibal came out of. Hannibal was a descendant of the Garamantes. St. Augustine was a descendant of the Garamantes. The Moors were descendants of the Garamantes. The Garamantes basically are African folk having moved out into this area because of climate, developed a culture and a way of living. And these were known as the Garamantes. And this is where, these are the Africans that would later become the Moors, move up into Morocco and Mauritania, and then move up into Al-Andalus. Al-Andalus, as you look at the word Al, if you look at it, basically has the formation of introducing it's almost, from what I can understand, it is like in the Islamic language, it's like a prefix, meaning something, what was going to follow would be spiritual, like Al-Islam, Al-Kameh. See, there is a spiritual formation using the word Al, which of course our word is all. Al-Anda. Anda means to walk in Spanish. Luz. Someone want to help me? Light. So Al-Andalus means to walk in the spiritual light. And that's what they named this country, or this that we today call Spain and Portugal. But it was more than just that, because it touched in the southern parts of France. So the Garamantes were the North Africans, and they were contemporaries of the Kemites. In other words, when the Kemites had their wonderful civilizations, the Garamantes were also doing things. See, we're caught up in Egypt where we look at the pyramids and we look at, but we don't know that at the same time Egypt was flourishing, so was Sudan and Ethiopia. So was northern parts of Africa, including Western Africa. But you see, Egypt is the doorway to African wisdom by the European. They entered Africa through Europe. That's the only thing they know. So therefore, to them, when they write books, everything deals with Egypt. But as an African people, there were things going on in Africa that's just as dynamic. I'll give you another example in social studies. We teach our children about Native Americans, but what we do is that we take the same route the Europeans took. We look at the Native Americans along the East Coast when we start teaching children about Native Americans. We don't teach them about what was going on down here. We teach them Native Americans the East Coast, basically where the 13 colonies were. The reality of it is that to understand the Native American nation, you've got to look at the Mississippi River. Because the Mississippi River to Native Americans was what Happy was to the Africans. You go to a place known as Cahokia, which, when you look at the Mississippi River, it almost becomes like a Y and then it comes down. Cahokia is located in southern Illinois. It is the largest pyramid in the northern hemisphere. There are over 110 pyramids along the Mississippi River. For more information on that, there's a book called, by Jack Weatherford, called Native Roots, Chapter 2. It's called Pyramids Along the Mississippi.